that I just don't think that's good enough for running for president.
Okay, but how did Trump do at the economic?
I thought he did fine. How did she do? How did she do?
You would never say he didn't do well. Tell me.
I have repeatedly said he has no.
No, she did.
Did I or did I not criticize him on the NABJ
or the dance
on this show? Did I or did I not?
So
you're wrong. And you can admit
it. Did you watch him at the Economic Club?
I thought he was fine. I thought it worked fine.
He literally was nonsensical.
First of all, he
you can say you could disagree with me.
No, I don't
thought
disagree.
And also, he repeatedly attacked his interviewer. Yeah. I mean, all of those things. I mean, if Kamala Harris, instead of maybe evading the question, attacked Bret Baier and said, you're biased and you're wrong, and
she repeatedly went back to the I'm speaking, let me finish. Look, she spent
we played the clip.
Percentage of her time today meandering through these long-winded wind-ups and prepositional phrases only to get to these unsatisfactory answers. It's exactly what happened on 60 Minutes, and frankly, it's what happened at the debate when she won't answer the specific questions she's asked. It doesn't satisfy me. Now, look, I'm geared against her. Obviously, I'm a conservative.
I don't know. There's a lot,
but it's not. It's just not. To me, it's not satisfactory.
There we have it from CNN reacting to the great interviews yesterday. And by the way, on Twitter at Kevin Miller Show, we asked the question: who won the debate yesterday or the interviews yesterday? Was it Kamala Harris? Was it Donald Trump? We'll give you those results. We'd love you to participate in that. And by the way, we would love for you to join us here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we had the vice president doing the interview and interrupting Bret Baier and all sorts of other things. And, I'm speaking and this, that, and the other. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, if that's really how this is going to be, did she win any votes? Did she convince anybody? And by the way, you have the CNN panel where everybody just yells and, Scott Jennings last night, he's debating an actor from the show Elizabeth, and he's talking about the insulting things that the vice president said about her initiatives for black men, legalizing weed, $20,000 for black men and all this. And then the guy said, no, it's for everybody. And he goes, no, it's said racially. And then he brought up the point, Scott Jennings did, and it was a great point that if all of a sudden Donald Trump did that for white men, people would be going crazy. So, again, we have a lot to do. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. We've got stories. We've got all sorts of wonderful things for you there. Certainly, what's happening to the Idaho family farm have subdivisions replaced Idaho's beloved economic backbone. So we've got that going on. Also, we've got a lot of clips from Bret Baier. We've got a lot of clips from everything else and all sorts of things. Kamala Harris, multiple media appearances yesterday. One in Detroit where she's telling black men, I'm the first vice president to grow chili peppers, whatever that means.
So you may not know, but you will appreciate I'm the first vice president to grow chili peppers at the vice presidency. Okay. Including Scotch bonnet peppers. You know about that one. Come on now.
Real heat, real science. They don't know them.
I mean, that's hotter, that habanero Scotch bonnet.
Hottest pepper known to man.
Exactly. I have no problem with it. No.
Yes, I don't know what that really means, that she grows chili peppers. Now, could you see Doug, the first gentleman or the second gentleman or the fifth gentleman or whatever he is, her husband, Doug Emhoff, and Kamala, who we've yet to see an address. And again, we all have our peccadillos. We all have our idiosyncrasies. We all have, I just wish Kevin Miller would do this. I wish Kevin Miller would quit saying his name, Kevin Miller. I'm sorry, that's how we're judged and how we're rated and how I pay my mortgage. Regardless of that, when's the last time you saw Hillary Clinton in a dress? I don't even want to talk about economics. I don't want to talk about the illegals coming in. I don't want to talk about the disaster that is the world. Just for one moment, we're having a glass of unsweet tea. Unsweet tea, much better for you than sweet tea. Sweet tea could lead to diabetes. Unsweet tea cannot lead to diabetes. So we're sitting there having a glass of tea, or as my father-in-law, Papa Jerry, was telling me this new drink that he got at Human Bean. And I said, on my way to Banks with him yesterday, I go, Jerry, what do you got there? Well, it's a hot chocolate that's frozen. And I said, how can you get a hot chocolate that's frozen? And he looked at me and I said, Jerry, that sounds kind of frou-frou to me, as I had my cup of coffee with, black. And just again, so let's just say we're having a hot chocolate because it's getting colder and we're, the rain and we've got our hoodies on and all sorts of things. And we're sitting there having a good time and going back and forth. I would just want to say, what's wrong with the dress? And by the way, to all the Idaho ladies that still wear dresses, thank you. But could you imagine, and maybe a dress, it doesn't have the same power as a pantsuit. Now, to me, I don't really find pantsuits that alluring. I find them, I find them about as endearing as, the Mao pajamas that everybody in China used to have to wear back in the day, the black pajamas. I bet the black pajamas were quite comfortable, but I digress. I mean, would it be too much to see her in a dress or a Hillary Clinton in a dress? And now she's telling people, as the world rages in war and all sorts of nonsense, that we have her at 580-5436 telling everybody that she's growing chili peppers. So there she is with her husband. And after playing 8 hours of online solitaire, she goes in the back and they get the fertilizer out and they start fertilizing place from your favorite store, regardless of what that is. There's a lot of great stores that sell those things. And you do that. You know what I mean? I could really see that. It's just somebody that it's like when the new boss comes to town. And there's two types of new bosses. There's the dictator that comes to town that doesn't want to talk to anybody. I'm trying to remember, and we're all such now not manly people, not people that really work, like Glenn, Lee Joe. Boss comes in, they give him a hard time, they go, boss, I can go find another job, boss. Now that's easier said than done. But the rest of us, we're kind of like Steve Carell in The Office. New boss comes in, we're sitting there looking around, doing our own thing. And, the boss comes in. Some bosses, they want to hear from you. Some don't. I made the mistake of Nashville of trying to tell the new boss the great job I was doing. Good, you're the first person I'm going to fire. You're fired, Kevin Miller. Guy had blue skin. No, not kidding. So you have these new bosses come in, and Kamala Harris is like the new boss. Hi, what do you do? Sounds like the guy that fired me. Sorry. Hey, what do you do? Well, I do this, this, and this. Now, some people come in, they write things down. Other people, they don't want to talk. But she's like the boss that wants to be your friend. And in reality, is the boss ever your friend? Is the boss ever your friend? I can remember a person who became one of my great mentors, Jason Wilmot, who hired me here on KIDO Talk Radio. And I go, hey, man. And, as an employee, you're trying to blur the line so you get the benefit of the doubt that, a ball that's really a strike that's really a ball. He goes, we're not friends. Became one of my closest friends ever. So here we have her. She's trying to be the boss of all of us. And all she seems to do is tell people that she grows chili peppers. Now, what have we learned this week about the vice president? Apparently she smells good, according to the effeminate guy on that show. And she grows chili peppers. Well, what about the country? Now, our own Fox News' Brett Baer had a chance to go one-on-one with her, and say, why, if Trump is so bad, why is the race so tight, madam?
This decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk.
So are they misguided?
Are they misguided? Are they stupid? Or are you a bad candidate on KIDO Talk Radio?
50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within. talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
And yet, he is still beating her. By the way, we do want to thank our friends at Window World Boise. They are sponsoring this portion of the program today. Why? Because I am at home at Window World Central here, getting ready for my new windows to come in today. So we will take you through the entire process. WindowWorldBoise.com. Let's go to Idaho Mike with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Love your show and all the good conservative talking and points. And I mean, boy, top notch. Hey, anyways, we need maybe a couple little things.
Sure.
We ought to have a little investigation, see if Mrs. Glock Harris has a registered Glock. You know,
I would agree with you on that. Or does she have it in D.C.? And I don't think you can have a Glock in D.C. I don't think you can have a gun in D.C.
Oh, well, yeah, but she's got plenty of bodyguards, I'm sure. But, hey, how about, you know what? Yeah, poor Brett Baer. Oh, dear. He should have offered her a big glass of Kool-Aid. But, yeah.
Well, no, I'm with you. And then you've got the whole thing where I guess the aides were, like, attacking him, waving at him the whole time.
His what?
Her aides, they had 4 people behind the scenes waving at him and making faces at him the whole time.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
What a bunch of weirdos. You know, she's delusional, and so anybody, you know, she's way out there. Yeah, that's insane. Oh, and the chili peppers, that's probably to get the Mexican vote. Hey.
Well, Idaho Mike, thank you. Mike from Idaho, thank you for the call. And we continue on. But up 580-5436-580-KIDO. Let's go to AJ in Caldwell with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, AJ.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, you know, when I was watching that last night, I was just thinking to myself, are there really people out there that actually believed what she said at all? And if they are, we're in so much trouble. I mean, to have an electorate which doesn't know anything about what has actually happened, she keeps referring to Donald Trump as someone that controlled the entire Republican Party while he wasn't even in office. You know, he sure, he's a popular man and he's going to be the front runner here, but he doesn't control what they do. They do what they want to do. That's been proven before. Even when he was president, there's things that didn't go the way he wanted the vote to go because of a few Republicans that were rhinos or what have you. So this is just all a bunch of BS. And they keep referring. She says the moment that we got into office, within hours we began drafting that bill. Well, why didn't you bring it out till almost a year ago? What is it that you were talking about? You've allowed that border to be open for a reason. And I'm telling you, Kevin, you don't believe me, you don't believe this stuff, but cheating is real. And that's about one of the last things that they have left. With the early mail-in voting, they can stick their finger up in the air and kind of see where things are at and know exactly how many votes they need to tip them over the line. And what they go for is the voter that will not look into their vote, like the infirmed or the people that the ability or care to even see if their vote went in the way it should. And that's what they go after. And if you change one vote from a Republican president to a Democratic president, that's 2 votes. That's not 1. You get 2. Because you're taking away 1 and getting 1. And they are cheating. There's no doubt.
Well, we will find out if the cheaters win.
Yeah, let's hope they don't, because God help us if they do. That means that they could do this all the time, and we'll never see a sane country ever again.
Well, and a lot of people don't even know what a sane country is anymore.
No, they don't, unfortunately, because they go to schools and colleges. Look at what they're teaching them in schools and colleges today. I mean,
I agree with you.
So, well, God bless you. You're doing a great job, as always.
Thank you, AJ. Appreciate you. Phone number's here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Let's go to Brian in Nampa. Brian, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin. Everybody's up early and ready to talk to you. Hey, guess what happens when your girlfriend Oprah that went to Diddy parties with you doesn't interview you, Kevin? It doesn't go too well. From what I understand, they cut it a little short because things weren't going right. So my question to the American people is, if you can't stand against Brett for 24 minutes, how are you going to do against Putin?
Good point.
Brett is nothing compared to our enemies. And if you can't deal with the other half of the country that you disagree with and come up with good answers, and I'm sorry, none of her answers were good answers. They were lame. She did not take any responsibility. She deflected. It's Trump's fault. That's all they can do. You've been in office, Madam Vice President, for almost 4 years. Tell me what you did. Tell me what you accomplished. Tell me how my grocery bills are lower. Tell me how my children can afford housing. Tell me what you did. You're not delivering. It's that simple. So when you don't have your half of the country, like Oprah, that I might just recommend again, hung out at Diddy parties with you, and God knows what you did there. Tell me about the higher moral ground you have over us country folk, us people that you think you're better than. Nice try. Oh, by the way, you can't have certain Glocks in California. They're illegal. There's an approval process, and I hope you don't have a high-capacity magazine. I would love to see any of these politicians on either side live up to the laws they push through. They're hypocrites, Kevin.
I would agree with you, Brian. And again, the whole idea that the law for thee, not for me.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Diddy party tapes to come out, just like the Epstein tapes didn't. And lecture me about morals, please. You're not even close. You don't even come close to the elite clicker. God help you on Judgment Day, Madam Vice President. We will be looking down on you that day if you don't change. I hope you all repent. You have a good day, Kevin. We love you.
We love you, too. Don't forget our friends at Window World Boise. That's why we're here today. Today and tomorrow, we'll document the installation of the windows here on KIDO Talk Radio. Here's a little bit more of the Vice President.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning...
By the way, that's such a great question by Brett Baird. You're the incumbent. If you weren't the incumbent, you wouldn't be the nominee. Remember, you tried to be the nominee, and it didn't work out for you. Remember?
Page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam
That
Vice
is
President, more than
turning the
70% of people
That is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
people
70% of people tell the in recent days, your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade.
Again, we could go over and over and over again. And she got angry and she was upset because she's been handled by people that have told her that everything she does is great. And quite frankly, this is what happens when you're not prepared. This is what happens when you're in the basement. Now, my own personal view is I think they should have kept her in the basement. I think the more Americans see her, and I know Buck Sexton has already been on Twitter about this, from Clay and Buck today at 10, the basement strategy probably was best. This interview was a disaster. Now, does it play to people that are on the fence? I don't believe that anybody is on the fence right now. I think it's all baked in, and I do believe that Donald Trump has that shadow vote that we're not going to see, but we still have less than 3 weeks to go. We would love to hear from you. If you're listening for the first time, Kevin Miller in the Morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Our phone numbers, that's right, we have a thing called a phone, and you can dial it and call in. It's not a recorded thing. You can give us a call, and we would love to hear what you have to say at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. 36. Phone numbers, as we've said, we've given them to you. 580-KIDO. I'm just typing this to Buck Sexton, and Buck and Clay and Buck, they do a great job. I love this. What are some of your favorite up-and-coming conservative podcasters and voices? And then he goes on and on, looking for guests on the radio show. And look, I love the radio. And we have a podcast, and whoopee, the podcast is there. But the fuel that feeds the fire is talk radio. They call it spoken word. They call it what you will. So I just said, look, Buck, the people that know their communities the best are the people that are on the radio. The morning wacky DJs. Hi, everybody. It's Kevin Miller in the morning, and here's a look at weather and traffic, and coming up in a minute. And this is kind of what morning television has become, if you noticed. And we're going to take another look at the weather. Didn't you just give us a look at the weather moments ago? Well, yeah, we're going to give it to you again because you could never have too much weather. Sunny skies today and haze over the over the mountains. Those are the people that are tuned in. Great local radio people. And the industry does not do enough to promote itself. So, again, maybe we'll get a response from Buck Sexton, but Clay and Buck, a great show. Really appreciate what they bring to us here, a live show. So that means you can call. And by the way, I have scooped all of you. Can anybody name the caller from KIDO Talk Radio that was our first caller on Clay and Buck? And I know Lee Joe, and I know Liberal Steve. Guys, I've been trying to call in. They don't answer the phone. Well, the secret is when Clay is out, Buck takes a lot more phone calls. And I know who you are. And if you're listening, I would love for you to call in now. And you usually call in later. Maybe you're not up yet, but I heard your call, and it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before. And I want to thank you for representing Idaho. Now, again, it would be a great shout-out. I listened to you on KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. But this person did an outstanding job when Buck Sexton was on the show. Thought it was really good. I thought it was outstanding. Let's go to Glenn in Nampa. We'll get him in before the news on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Kevin. Wasn't that one of your female callers from Eagle the other day?
Hey, man. Are you going to ruin it or what? I just gave this dynamic tease, and there you go again. You're about as bad as Tea Party Bob. Hey, let me tell you something, Kevin. Okay, Tea Party Bob. Okay, Glenn. Gun-toting Glenn. Glenn and Nap on Twitter. What can we do for you today? But yes, you would be correct. And were you shocked when you heard that?
Yes and no. I want to talk about Kamala and her non-answers last night.
Sure, no, but I was talking about our local caller that called in to Buck.
He was good, but I just had to. You were doing that goofy intro, and I just, couldn't help
let's
it.
We're going to play Disco Duck today, followed by I don't know what, and Casey and the Sunshine Band. Let's go to Glenn in Nampa. Hey, Glenn, what's rocking?
Hey, Kevin. It's interesting that Kamala last night, she couldn't answer a question directly. All she wanted to do was try to use her talking points, and when he would try to rein her in, because all she would do is just throw out a whole bunch of words and talk in circles like she usually does, then they say, well, you're interrupting me. And he's like, you're not answering the question. And she was trying to, that question where he asked her, well, what have you done in the last 3.5 years? And she's like, well, for the last decade, Trump has done this. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. he was only president for the last 10 years, so that means 6 of those years Democrats were in control. And if she wants to turn a new page, she's really just shooting herself in the foot.
Would you hire her?
Depends on what I was hiring her for.
No,
maybe
but I mean,
a Walmart greeter, but
I mean, if you were in this and you were doing something, would you hire her?
Probably not. I don't think she would make it through the interview process because you would have asked her a question during the job interview and she wouldn't answer it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she could make it through because that's what we're seeing. This whole thing is a job interview to be our next president, and she just tries to dodge the question all the time. She has no record to stand on. She has no achievements. The border problem that they created by rescinding a bunch of Trump's executive orders, they try to blame on Trump. I can't believe that half the country buys into this charade that they're trying to pull over on us. It's disheartening that people believe the garbage that they're trying to sell. So, I don't know, Kevin. At some point, I do want to talk about judges, because there are judges on the ballot that you said you had a break to go to with the news. So I'll have to call in another time. We can talk about judges in Canyon County.
Well, that's something to look forward to, as much as me going, okay, little buddy, thanks for the call.
Sorry, I guess I was weak sauce this morning, Kevin. I'll have to work on upping my game.
Well, good luck, little buddy. Thank you, Glenn. Let's go to traffic and weather together. We're replying to the big interview last night. Of course, President Trump also had an interview. We'll play that for you. We are stacked and packed. Peter Thiel, talk radio expert, will join us coming up next hour. Let's get back to the phones, and we are chasing Scott Cleveland. Hopefully we'll get him on. We apologize to our friend Patriot Ray. Patriot Ray on his way to work on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. She told exactly what she's planning on doing as the new president. She's going to do the same thing she's been doing for the last almost 4 years, which is nothing, except make our life more miserable. And she keeps bashing Trump. She's done that all along. And then she says that it's Trump's doing that. Trump is trying to jail people, when it has been their administration who has jailed the J6ers, who has jailed others, who tried to go after Trump in many, many different ways, trying to get him financially bankrupt, trying to get him in courts and tie his time up so he can't campaign. Yes, he still does. And then she has the gall to say that he's hiding when he is never hidden. He's out there telling the truth to the people, telling them what he will do when she does nothing. And she doesn't have the ability to have a decent conversation. She kept interrupting Bear. She kept, they were talking over each other. It was kind of crazy. And then, I don't know. We don't need her. We need people who support this country and support the American people instead of supporting illegal aliens as they come here, giving them cash, giving them houses to live in, when we have unemployed people who are homeless now, living on the streets, and they're doing nothing to help those people. Now I want to get to one more point, if I can, Kevin, and that's Proposition 1. I have received no less than 5 different flyers, nice color flyers, talking about how we need to support Proposition 1. Proposition 1 does nothing for us except make our life more miserable, because they're going to allow people who don't have a feeling of the Republican Party and don't have the feeling for America to succeed. They just want to corrupt the situation so they can get more control over the people of Idaho. And so vote no on Proposition 1. It is a piece of garbage legislation that does not take us back to something that we had before. It does nothing like what we've had before, and we need to stay with what we have today. And God bless our state for saying they're going to vote yes for the one that gets us protection from illegal voting by saying you have to have identification. You have got to be in control. And we need to know that illegals cannot vote in this state. God bless, Kevin. Have a great day. I am so grateful for my opportunity to go to work every day and to provide for my family. But I tell you what, it's getting tougher. And people out there, I'm in a pretty good situation, but I see my grandkids will probably never be able to afford a house at the prices they are today and with the wages they are. When they force minimum wage on people, then they force people to have not enough money to spend anymore because everything else goes up. So God bless. Have a great day.
Thank you, Patriot Ray. And really, when you're listening to this interview with the vice president, did she really address anybody's future? All she seemed to do, and I can remember my parents telling me this, every time that I would be trying to litigate something with them, I'd say, well, such and such did such and such. And they said, we're not talking about such and such, we're talking about you. And did you notice, if you heard the interview, and Clay and Buck are going to be playing, Sean's going to play it, everybody's going to play it, that all she kept saying was Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. That was one of those, no, thank you. And it's at the end of a contentious interview. It's at the end of a contentious dialogue. You don't really say thank you. You're saying something else, but it's a thank you. And at 580-5436-580-KIDO, we're getting your response to it, but this is really a mistake by Harris to do this interview. Because the more you see her, the more she gets exposed.
You said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think it did. We've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
There were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support.
Well, I get it. They're frustrated. They want support. Well, you haven't supported them. 2 questions for you. Would you hire Kamala Harris for a job where you work? Would you like her as a coworker? And did it change your mind? I love this. I love this where they go, wow, they're frustrated. Well, why do you think that they're frustrated? Because you have not supported the law. My lion eyes aren't deceiving me. And Brett Baer continues on. We've got some great clips here. But why do you think they're not endorsing you? Because people are going to the store and seeing the price of eggs. Sean Hannity, can't wait to hear what Sean has to say today at 1, right after Clay and Buck on KIDO Talk Radio.
KIDO Talk Radio.
Turn up your radio. Here's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
And I've had elections where I'm advocating for a particular candidate, and I've lost those elections. It's disappointing. You know that somebody is a better candidate. They don't win, and although sometimes Republicans have put up awful candidates, but this is an opportunity to secure your border, to end inflation, to lower your taxes, to bring back law and order, to have better schools, to get us to energy dominance, which will make the country rich, to restore America's place in the world, and to deal with, the people that they've let into this country unvetted, including murderers, rapists, other violent criminals, gangs, cartels, known terrorists, but we don't know where they are. I mean, it's an opportunity to turn all of this around.
Check out the Sean Hannity radio show later today, right here.
Hey, everyone. The 2024 election is on our doorstep, and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are knocking on your door. They're pushing for higher taxes and even taxes on unrealized gains. Could you imagine that? Paying taxes on something you never took profits on? What would that do to the economy? Will they come for your retirement savings? Will they come for your house? Who knows? But don't wait to find out. Learn how you could protect and diversify everything you've worked for with the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco. Goldco has over 6,000 five-star reviews, a bunch of awards, and has helped people just like you purchase over $2.5 billion in gold and silver. Call 855-815-GOLD to get your free 2024 gold and silver kit, plus up to a 10% instant match on bonus silver for qualified accounts. Learn how precious metals like gold and silver could help you. Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD.
Paid for by Goldco.
There we have it. Let's go to security guard Mike with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, security guard Mike.
Good morning, Kevin Miller. You asked a profound question this morning. Would I hire Kamala Harris? I would not. I used to work at Taco Bell. I wouldn't even hire her to work at Taco Bell. I don't think she could cook the taco shells fast enough, do the hamburger, slice the lettuce, dice the tomatoes, and all the stuff you got to do over there, plus get the orders out. Plus, you have to memorize the whole menu. I don't think she can even memorize the whole menu at Taco Bell. And it ain't easy over there, but I worked there for 2 years when I was going to college. And I tell you, you have to work fast and furious, and I don't think she can do it. I don't think she could even be a greeter at Walmart because she'd be interrupting the people all the time. Kevin Miller, that was a profound question. I would not hire her to run anything. I don't think she could stand up to Putin. I don't think she could stand up to Xi Jinping. I don't think she could stand up to the mullahs or anything. I think she's just a disaster. And God help us if she gets elected. God help us if the American people decide to hire her. God help us. You're awesome, Kevin Miller. That was a profound question. Great question. I loved it. You take care, and I love you, and you're awesome.
I love you, security guard Mike. Take care. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, Peter Thiel will join us next hour. We are chasing Scott Cleveland. Hopefully we'll hear from him, our latest from Fox. But more importantly, we are here to hear what you have to say locally on KIDO Talk Radio. Play the clips, if you will. Let's go to Dave Burnett now to get you to work safely on time on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio. Traffic now, we're looking pretty good on the freeway, beginning to build in volume as you head down toward the county line. Westbound milepost 62, we have an accident working there. Don't forget about construction on Farmway Road, Karcher to Simplot in Canyon County. Direct orthopedic care for sprains, strains, and breaks. Skip the ER and go directly to Doc. Drop in without an appointment to one of 5 Treasure Valley locations. Visit BoiseDoc.com to learn more. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave Burnett. Coming up, we'll hear from Peter Thiel, but we'll hear from you. We would love to take more of your calls at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Of course, Boise stayed off this week. Everybody's having a well-deserved rest, but that doesn't mean that the content doesn't end. Here we have Travis Hunter. Now, he's a two-way guy for the University of Colorado. All of a sudden, Mr. Hunter is talking about Boise's Ashton Genty. Sweet William, do we have the clip? This is for Bo, who's just enamored with Boise State.
I haven't seen a running back that's good. All right. We haven't seen a player that plays both ways, and I'm going to keep saying that. It's like he have 95 carries.
Yeah.
For 1,000
yards. Yeah.
If I had 95 catches, how much yards you think I have? Okay. So I'm trying to tell him, like, if I had 95 targets on defense, what you think I'll have?
Right.
If I had 95 catches on offense, what you think I'll have? So I try to tell you, like, I have.
Well, we're trying to what we think that he has. Anyway, Mr. Hunter is a very talented, once in a generation, once in a millennium player who plays on both sides of the football, offense and defense. Now, the key here is Ashton Jeanty and Boise State, they don't have the big money pedigree of Colorado or Texas or anybody else. And as I'm writing this article on KIDOTalkRadio.com, Jeanty has mirrored the Boise State underdog outkick the coverage performance, if you will. When they're talking about you, they're worried about you. So good luck, Ashton Jeanty. More on Harris, Walz, Vance, Donald Trump, and you. We're never leaving you out. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio app. Appreciate you joining the App Yap Club. Let's go to our great friend, the guru of branding, talk radio expert, man of the world, Peter Thiel joins us now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. People are going to be talking today a lot about the Kamala Harris Brett Baer interview. I'm guessing that'll be coming up on your show today. But I found something even more intriguing yesterday.
Well, that's why we have you on. You're always unpredictable, and we love it.
Okay, so on the big X, you watch the X. It's owned by this guy named Elon Musk, who seems to be a heck of a guy, loves the freedom. All right, so Douglas Emhoff, Mr. Kamala Harris, the gentleman auditioning to be the first lady, first man, first lady. So he has a video because the Harris campaign has a huge problem, and it's called dudes. And apparently Kamala is not connecting with the dudes, and Tim Walz has the flamboyance of an amateur theater participant hoping to land the role in Cats. So Douglas Emhoff is having breakfast with three gentlemen in the age group that the Harris campaign is losing. Guys probably in their late 20s, 30s. And of course, all three gentlemen come from a different cultural expression. There's a white feller, there's a Latino feller, and an African-American feller. Seem like really nice guys. And they're eating breakfast not at a diner, not at a place where regular guys go. They're at the white tablecloth breakfast joint. This is where you take your wife or girlfriend or side piece on, Sunday morning brunch. You go there and you get a mimosa, 2 eggs, home fries made with truffle oil, a side of meat of some sort, and some artisan handmade toast. And you pay $25 to $40 for that wonderful meal. So one of the guys keeps pouring coffee. That's all he does is they're talking about society and talking about this. And it's so absolutely crazy. Kamala Harris, by the way, is so bad at even doing these things that she has to have her husband do it. Who will be running the country? And again, I'm not a sexist, as you know, Kevin. I'm the furthest thing from somebody who doesn't, who would think that a woman could be president. I want a woman president. I love women as president. There have been amazing governors who are women and who have been amazing public servants. But Kamala Harris, for whatever reason, not connecting with the dudes and having a real problem, especially with African-American men. But it's also the 20s and 30s, apparently everywhere. So Dougie is having a problem with it. And did you see Tim Walz's hunting video?
I did.
Yeah, we're talking about a guy who served in the military, in the National Guard, who had no idea how to load a shotgun. As somebody who I'm originally from his state of Minnesota, and again, I have no idea how the media allowed that guy to get away with so many lies in his biography. So Tim Walz, apparently a new shotgun. Okay, didn't he own a gun before? What's this deal here? I thought he was the Great White Hunter. They had him set up, and his hunting gear is all brand new. If you're a regular hunter, it's not new. It is. It's not new. It's got some stains on it, perhaps from pheasant blood. It's got it's got schwitzen on it and all that sort of stuff. Brand new stuff. And there were several pictures of him without a gun. Okay, I'm going to tell you, you go out hunting. Kevin, do you hunt?
Sadly, I root for the animals, Peter.
Hunting is actually very good for the environment. And there are, in fact, if you like the animals and want to protect wildlife, et cetera, the best thing you can do to participate in that is buy a hunting license, even though you do not participate in the activity, because hunting licenses go to conservation of spaces to allow our wildlife to live in peace and harmony. And quite frankly, we have too many deer. And Idaho is filled with those mule deer, and you got to send them on their way. Do you get pronghorn antelope in Idaho?
You know, Peter, as you know from our years together, I'm really not a real man, so I'm not qualified to answer that question. And I know you're going. Miller, you should know these things. You're right. I should.
Yeah, if you're going the full mountain man look here, Kevin, you gotta give that to us.
Yeah, sadly, I'm a poser on that one. I know I lack the credibility, but anyway. So your point about the deer, sir, antelope.
Well, they need to be because there's not enough natural predators for them. The herd needs to be thinned out. And in several states around the country, there's something called, I think it's chronic wasting disease. And that's primarily because of a high concentration of population of deer. So it's somebody who's out hunting for the deer every year. They're actually helping the environment. They're doing more help for the environment than the non-hunter. There's just too many of the doggone things. And I know in Idaho we're now seeing more wolves, and I think that's fantastic, coming down from Canada, moving in from both Washington State and also moving in from Wyoming and Montana. We're getting all of that stuff. So good times. Good times. So kill deer. It's good.
Back to you though. You work with and you talk about women, and I remember one of the women that it was very important in your life, Barbara Carlson, right? You worked for her.
Yes. Yeah, I was her producer. Barbara Carlson, for those who are not familiar, was this bombastic, you knew she was anywhere close by because she was so loud and so boisterous. She was a politician who became a talk show host, very well regarded, very huge ratings. I had the honor of working with her for 5 years. I learned so much from her, and her, while she was hosting a talk show, her ex-husband was the governor of Minnesota.
So again, you're familiar with the uniqueness of the Minnesota politician, if you will.
Yes, and again, the whole Tim Walz thing. There's nothing about him. By the way, he gave right after his hunting expedition. He was in rural Wisconsin because that's supposedly his strength of speaking to the people, the rural folk. God, isn't that just crazy? So he's at some thing with a bunch of rural people. He's wearing a brand new flannel sweater that they must have just picked up at Bass Pro Shops, and a brand new hat.
Right.
That doesn't connect with the rural people. Flannel's good. It's a nice look, but if you're the spokesman of the rural folk, your flannel shirt should look a little bit worn.
Well, he's no John Tester.
John Tester does the full Perhaps John Tester should have been brought in to teach the Democrats how to appeal to rural men.
Yeah, at least he would, have the look right. I mean, he's a real life farmer. Our great friend Peter Thiel joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio. You've been at the highest levels. You've worked in New York City. You've worked with national people, and they listen to you. I still go back to, you got this Bret Baier interview. You've got the Donald Trump interview. How would you handle, if you, and again, I think you're so gifted, you could do anything. And I could see you as a candidate. I could see you as the guy behind the scenes making the millions of dollars as the consultant. What would you say to Harris, and how do you reach these people? In other words, your thoughts on, not as a viewer, but as a professional, on that interview last night with Bret Baier.
Yeah, my thing is that the Democrats are sort of lean into her weakness. And her weakness is that she's not a great speaker. And you don't need to be a great speaker to be a great leader. But they've been hiding it instead of just taking it on. I hate to go biblical, but, Moses, the guy who led the Jewish slaves out of Egypt and freed the slaves of that era, when God was telling him what he wanted to do, Moses said, well, I'm slow of speech. And so that means that probably he was a little bit of a stutterer, a little self-conscious. Well, obviously they're self-conscious about how Kamala Harris communicates. And I think in many ways you have to lean into those things and crack. And just when you go out and you admit your weakness, people automatically give you slack.
Yeah.
And that's the mistake, I think.
Yes, it reminds me of our many years together in Huntsville. She could learn a lot. And again, I apologize to everybody that won't know this reference to Gil Ost and Bud Kramer. It was a congressional race that you and I covered for years and years, it seemed, for a cycle. But to really beat an incumbent, and really you would say that Donald Trump is the incumbent, doesn't she have to make the case, or does she?
I think the idea is that the Democrats have is that try not to respond to Trump, try to let Trump talk too much, and hope that he alienates enough people that they look better. If you look at the campaign of Joe Biden, and they use COVID as the excuse, and obviously you don't have that as an excuse now. Joe Biden really wasn't in public very much. He was in his basement. And if you go back to Barack Obama, who is a gifted speaker, his problem as a speaker is that he becomes a professor. He becomes Professor Barry. And Professor Obama sometimes can alienate and talk down to people. So they kept him very tightly scripted. Biden was very tightly scripted. And that's what they're doing with Kamala. And I don't know how many writers they have working for Kamala Harris. Obviously, she has a stump speech, but all of a sudden she's received criticism because her accent seems to change every group she's in front of, giving the same speech. There's a certain she's not very authentic. And I think that's the problem. And I wish to tell you, I don't know her. I've never met her. It's seemingly she does not have a good sense of herself. And that's a huge problem.
Yeah, indeed. And then you go back to the Walz choice. Again, the people that are outdoor hunters, in fact, my neighbor, outdoor hunter, he got a deer that had that disease that you talked about. And, you know, it's such a intimate culture. And if you're not one of them, if you're a poser, they're gonna find out, and they're not gonna be happy with you.
Yeah, they're gonna figure it out really quick. And that is the big issue, is that Tim Walz looks like you almost would think that he's on something. He's jumping around the stage. His hands are flailing away. He does this weird kick like he's a rocket. And I've actually just sat there saying, is he sober? What's going on here? Because it's not normal behavior.
Peter Thiel, we're going to get you out with this on this question. You never hold anything back. So I was just on X or Twitter with your friend Elon Musk, and Buck Sexton was typing something in, and Buck doesn't know me from Chuck or Buck or Pluck or whomever. And he was saying I was looking for some upcoming conservative podcasters. And I said, podcasters are great. And I love this article that you wrote about the idea of local radio and making a difference. And I said, Buck, the people that know local communities are local talk show hosts. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think one of the problems that we have is that local hosts, local media gets the heartbeat of what's going on and allows people to know what's going on in their communities. When I lived in New York City, I lived in suburban New York City in Hackensack, New Jersey, like the Billy Joel song. And no one covered from New York media, which was the media for that area. No one covered New Jersey unless a politician got arrested. And seemingly there were arrests after arrests. In fact, Chris Christie's main claim to fame and what elected him as governor of New Jersey is that he had prosecuted 140 politicians, convicting them all. And when media is not covering and being careful to ask questions of everyone, you begin to get people like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who have risen up through the ranks, who never had a tough question in their lives, never had anyone look into their backgrounds, and they've risen up. And and I like podcasts about as much as anybody. Local media is the way to ask questions. Because remember, when somebody runs for city council, they're running for Congress or whatever race they're running for, they are essentially on a job interview. And the people that make the hire are the voters. And if the media is not asking equally tough questions of everybody, and I have zero problems with a tough question, I'll ask the toughest questions in the world, even of people I agree with. You must ask them as a media source, because that allows the politician or potential elected office holder to explain who they are and what they're about. And a podcast is wonderful, but it doesn't do that. And so much of the policies that run our day-to-day life happen from the state, county, municipal levels. And you must be totally focused on making sure that these people who want to run our lives are our servants, not our overlords.
The great Peter Thiel. Peter, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
I'm on the X. I'm an Xer. You can find me at Peter Thiel, Peter Thiele. And in fact, I love interacting with the KIDO listeners. Love Idaho, and you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, and I love your show.
Always appreciate you, Peter Thiel. A privilege. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Takes a shot at Boise's Ashton Genty. You can read that story now on our website at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We are getting your reaction to the Kamala Harris interview with Fox's own Brett Baer. And, you know, the more people talk, the more people did this, and this, the more they continue to be exposed. President Trump also had a chance to speak to folks, and unlike Kamala Harris, did have a chance to talk to people in public, take questions, anyone, anytime, anywhere. That really seems to be what President Trump is all about and always has been about. And we see the contrast in two candidates, and really, as we've said before, it really goes back to, are you better off now? Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And people can, you know, say all sorts of things, but when you go to the grocery store, it's not a pleasant experience. When you go to Winco, thankfully, there is a Winco, there is a Walmart, there is an Albertsons, there's plenty of choices. And unfortunately, when we take a look at this administration, how in the world can you sit back and say that they've done a good job? Now, our own Brett Baer of Fox News, when you hear Brett, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, he was surprised at just how tough the interview was for him as a interview person.
So it was a big moment for this campaign, and the man of the hour joins us now. Brett, good morning to you, and thank you for your time this morning. Good
morning.
You've had 15 hours now to marinate over this. What did you think about how it went?
You know, guys, good morning. I left there right after the interview, and I thought, wow, this was really a lot more contentious than I thought. It was there was a lot of filibustering. I didn't really want to keep on interrupting, but if I didn't, I thought there were maybe be 4 answers total in the interview. I think I came away with there were moments that clearly she prepared for, that I think she wanted to have the viral moment, and she got it, and I think her campaign was happy with that. I think there were things that Mark played and some other moments where I think a lot of people looking back at the transcript are going to say, wow, that's interesting, it's newsy, it's not what she usually answers.
One of the things you talked about at some length was immigration. And if you pull up call.
And there we have it. Very contentious, and she tried to filibuster, and it was very uncomfortable, where you have, you know, the let me finish. And finally, you had somebody holding her accountable and saying, you know, how in the world can you sit there and say we're going to turn the page, we're going to do all these things, when in fact you're responsible? Let's take a listen here on KIDO Talk Radio.
Premise. Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Brett,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And I can't imagine.
Is there any question about it? How tough is it to say you're sorry? You know, I love what Peter Thiel shared with us here on KIDO Talk Radio, where he said, you know, when you admit your faults, you become human. Remember President Bush, the second one, not the first one, who was ridiculed. The liberals called him Hitler and all sorts of things. The guy was a fairly smart guy, but people called him a dummy. They called him a dummy. and they ripped him. You know what I'm saying? But President Bush had that self-deprecating humor. Could you imagine, let's say you're going to a church function or a social, or better yet, a dinner at work. Would anybody want to sit next to her? To the App Yap Club on KIDO Talk Radio. Remember, you can join the App Yap Club. All you got to do is get the app. No, I wouldn't hire her for anything. Her and Joe impeached or fired elite clicker in Nampa, Idaho. Enjoyed the report from Florida by Craig. Sad to hear the storm areas are not being relieved by FEMA. It needs to be defunded. As a veteran, was moved by his account of getting our nation's flag off the ground, Mike in Caldwell. Good morning, Kevin. Do you guys happen to have a bumper sticker? No, we don't have them, Shanty Rose. I could get one for my truck. You guys in 89.5 are the only stations I want to promote on my truck. I have one for them, but I really need one for you guys. Thank you, Shanty Rose. Question for Kent Goldthorpe. Is it appropriate for an elected or state official to insult his constituents on social media? And there we have it. You can join the App Yap Clubs, and you will be heard. Also do want to thank our friends at Team Mazda, Aaron and Joel, and the entire team at Team. They have this thing that they call the Cash for Cars Month, which is continuing. You want to make sure that you take care of that. You want to make sure that you get your cash for your car. Lots of folks have already turned their car into cash at Team Mazda during the Cash for Cars Month. Right now, it's not too late. If you turn your car in, you can get some cash. Let's face it, cash is tight these days. Maybe you have a car that isn't what it used to be or what it needs to be. If you've got a car that you're willing to sell, take it to Team Mazda and get a free cash quote. If you decide to sell, they will cut you a check right there on the spot and take care of the title transfer. It's the easiest way to sell your car for cash. Now, maybe you're looking to trade your car, your old car. Well, I go to Team. You have a lot of choices. You could sell it yourself. But did you know only Team offers the following two trade guarantees? 130% of book value or $2,000 minimum if it's a push, pull, drag, or clunker. Whether you want to sell for cash or trade for new, get a free no-obligation quote from Team before you agree to any other offer. And if you haven't heard yet, the Feds recently lowered interest rates, and that triggered all new lower rates at Team Mazda. How low, Kevin Miller? Glad you asked. 3.9% for 6 months on a Mazda 3, CX-5, and CX-90. That includes hybrids, right? Choose a Mazda CX-50, and it's 2.9% financing for 60 months. That means Team Mazda has 115 new Mazdas on the lot. You could finance at 3.9% or less for 60 months. Low interest rates, cash for cars at Team Mazda, the pre-owned superstore on the Boulevard, or online at GoTeamMazda.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Comes down to at 580-5436-580 KIDO. Would you hire Kamala Harris for anything? You know, we talked a little bit about that with Joe Biden, but let's go back to this thing. By the way, Donald Trump did conduct interviews yesterday on Fox News. Fox News really owned the day, and we are proud to be a Fox affiliate. And look, Fox News, a lot of people have issues with them, and we love to air the grievances at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We love to air the grievances, but Fox had both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris on. Did anybody else? No. Here, Donald Trump was asked a big question. What are the 3 virtues that you see in your opponent?
Se me hace justo hacerle exactamente la misma pregunta.
By the way, Donald Trump went on Univision, where, as you can tell, they're not speaking English. He's going everywhere. People talk about his cognitive ability. He's losing it. Does this sound like a guy who's losing it?
Very hard question. That's the toughest question. The other ones are easy. Look, I'm not a fan. I think she's harmed our country horribly at the border, with inflation, with so many other things. But she seems to have an ability to survive. She seemed, because, she was out of the race and all of a sudden she's running for president. That's a great ability that some people have and some people don't have. She seems to have some pretty long-time friendships, and that's, also, I don't call that an ability. I call that a good thing. And she seems to have a nice way about her. I mean, I like the way, some of her statements, some of her, the way.
Well, I mean, she has a nice laugh. We can all agree with that. She has a nice laugh. Right? By the way, the world continues to react to the big interview. Mark Cuban, liberal Mark. The beautiful thing about the Brett Baier interview is that Kamala Harris understood and responded to each question. She used examples of policies. She gave real-world context. When Brett went hard after her, she didn't call him names. She didn't quit the interview. She didn't make things up. By the way, all she did was go after Donald Trump like a juvenile little kid. And it's just one of those uncomfortable things. It's a bad hire. You look at the border. You look at everything else. And I'm sitting there, and poor Brett Baier getting yelled at. And I don't know if you heard about this, but you had people behind the scenes that were waving at him and yelling at him and doing all sorts of things. Now, the big question here is, remember, she has failed the Mike Tyson test. By the way, shout out to Jim and Star that echoed this. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Oh, you know what? You got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
I, Kamala Harris, solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all.
Now, she was asked about the sex changes for transgendered inmates. And all she could say is, well, Donald Trump did that. No, Donald Trump was asked about whether or not you're going to let boys play against girls. And he said, get the heck out of there. That's normal. That's nonpartisan. And her entire defense seemed to be, and quite frankly, as we disclosed yesterday, look, remember, and like I said, one day, the young people, and God bless the young people that listen to this program, the young people, you're going to have stories. And you're going to live in interesting and fascinating times. And I don't know I hope that there's never a time in American history that tops this one. I think we're in contention for 1968 as far as just how contentious the times that we live in are. But you can have a time where you think to yourself, there's nothing happening. It's boring. Now, for a lot of the baby boomers, it was Watergate, or it was Kennedy, or it was whomever. For the Generation X people, you could say, for the older Generation X people, and now I'm talking age cohorts here, it was Ronald Reagan. It was the Gulf War, the good one. They're all good. It was the space shuttles, moments that happened in our lives that have really defined us. For the millennials, it was the Obama. It was the Great Crash. It was the Great Recession. It was Obama this, Donald Trump that. Now we live in the Generation Z people. These folks are coming up. And there was a time in Bob Woodward, who's writing another book, writing Bob Woodward, writing another book. And brilliant, he's a brilliant guy, but he wrote a book about, since, was it Carter? Or maybe since Ford, there has always been an administration that had scandals. Barack Obama ended that because he had an attorney general that had his back, Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch. So never mind about prosecuting conservatives, never mind about the Wetumpka Tea Party, never mind about Fast and Furious. Obama wasn't taking the fall. But as Mark Halperin, at one time one of the great journalists, and now kind of, off the scene, that's why he's on Newsmax, the greatest journalism scandal in recent history is we had a nincompoop in the office, Joe, and we let him run wild and free because he was a good old Joe, and we were deceived. It's kind of like Kevin Miller. Well, I'm going to start the weight loss journey tomorrow, but first, quarter pounders for everyone. So Brett Baier on Fox News on KIDO Talk Radio did ask Kamala Harris, hey, man, when did you figure out that Joe had to go? When did you figure out that Joe was not all there, if ever?
Let's not diminish the significance
you
of that.
called Donald Trump He's misguided. You say now
He's
unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand.
Another great nonpartisan question. When did you first realize that Joe was not all there? That's a legitimate question for the White House staff, for everyone. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Can't wait to hear from you next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. Well, I think that after that interview with Brett Baier, it's more obvious than ever that this lady is unfit for the job. I mean, I can only imagine if instead of Brett Baier, she was in an interview or something with Putin, or she or the Ayatollahs. They're going to have her for breakfast, Kevin. Because all she can do is talk about Trump. People are exhausted. Yes, Kamala, people are exhausted. They are sick and tired of hearing you talk about Trump. People want to hear about you. Not that you were born in a middle-class family. They want to hear what you're going to do with, to improve the economy. They want to know what you're going to do to solve the border problem. They do not want to hear what you have to say about Trump. We already know. But every time she's asked a difficult question, and they're all difficult for her, she goes, people are exhausted about Trump. Trump is unstable. It's sickening, Kevin. It's repetitive, it's tedious, it's boring, it's predictable. And it doesn't help her because she doesn't tell us about her. She doesn't tell us about her plans. She doesn't tell us about her solutions for the country. It's obvious that she has nothing to say in that respect, and so she has to resort to bashing Trump. Whatever you think about Trump, it's got to stop it. I'm sick of it. I really am sick of it. Aren't you?
Yeah, you would think somebody at the highest level would be more prepared for a television interview than she was.
I know. Well, she isn't because she's used to The View and she's used to Howard Stern, and they all ask her what's her favorite color. So she's not prepared for serious questions. But when she has to deal with all the heads of state, Kevin, they're not going to ask her what her favorite color is. Mm-hmm. She'll have to deal with much more serious problems than that. And she's obviously not prepared. She isn't. So, I cannot understand people who are going to continue to vote for this specimen out of sheer fanaticism and hatred for Trump. It's incomprehensible to me that people can be so immature, so, peevish, so set in their own personal peeves and not worry about the country. It worries me. It really does. Anyway, Kevin, I need to go because I've got to be somewhere else. So anyway, I just wanted to say that this woman is not prepared for serious conversation. She just isn't. Compare
Lucille, thank you for the call. We appreciate that. Our great friend Lucille, Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Jerry, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Is this Jerry, formerly of Middleton?
It is Jerry, formerly of Middleton, now of Emmett.
How do you like that, Emmett?
I grew up there. It's just, I'm back, I guess. Family's there. I need to be close to family. Anyway, you were asking if we would hire Kamala, and I think that she would be great for like a front desk receptionist at, Intermountain Hospital or the State Asylum or something, because she can say the same words over and over and over again. So just give her the script and give her the phone, and I think she'd be great at it.
I don't know if she could even remember to transfer you to the right department.
Well, probably not, but she'd be great at answering the phone, and if you're on hold, she can just cackle at you for a few minutes.
Did you watch or hear the interview?
I watched part of it, and then I had to stop.
Why?
Because when the interviewer asks a question and you go off script and he keeps asking the same question and you never get an answer, I can't handle that. After a while, I just got to go. Yeah, I'm low patience that way. Answer the question and move on.
Right.
But actually answer the question.
We appreciate that. Good luck in Emmett. You sound very enthusiastic.
Well, I'm trying. Makes my commute a little bit longer, but at least it's back roads and I don't have to take Highway 16.
Jerry, thank you for the call.
God bless you, Kevin. Love you.
Love you. Appreciate you, old friend. Let's get you to work safely and on time on KIDO Talk Radio. Dave Burnett standing by. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio, working an accident eastbound milepost 38, also milepost 40, minor fender bender. Have an accident at 42.5, just past 10 Mile on the right-hand side. Pine and Parkdale near Eagle Road, finishing cleanup there. And at Meridian and Overland, working an accident as well. Treasure Valley Coffee is celebrating 40 years of serving Southern Idaho's business community, and they now offer bar and restaurant supplies. Check out tvcoffee.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave Burnett. We're locked and loaded all day long. Clay and Buck, Sean and Lars, the best coverage of the issues that matter to you. Can't wait to hear from you next. Kevin Miller, good morning. Are there any cities that really love guns? Are there any cities that are, pro-Second Amendment? Well, we have that answer for you on our website. The strongest, secretive, most Second Amendment-friendly city is in the Treasure Valley. Do you know what it is? If not, take a look on our website for those stories and more. On KIDO Talk Radio, we've got some great articles there. We've got some articles about 10 reasons why Ashton Genty should win the Heisman. Another look at one that I just posted. You've got a big critic of Mr. Genty because, well, this person says, I deserve the Heisman. I deserve the Heisman, indeed. Well, don't we all deserve something? Let's go to our friend Jason, who joins us now. He was in Florida yesterday. He's in Georgia today. He's been working nonstop trying to help people return to civilization, return their power. Jason, welcome back. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give the people back home a little bit of news from down here. Yeah, I actually just crossed into the Tennessee line, apparently. I don't even know what state I am. I'm in half the time on this drive. But I wanted, after listening, I didn't get to watch the interview last night because I fell asleep. But long story short, catching up from 6 o'clock this morning when you came on to now, and the caller that was right after me yesterday, Dylan, this all ties together. You know, my dealings with FEMA down in Florida were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, so if we put it in Idaho terms, say I started out in the Treasure Valley, that was where they told us to go. Oh, by the way, now you need to go through a hurricane and drive up to Coeur d'Alene. or access, so it'd probably be more like Lewiston, let's say. Lewiston, go to Lewiston. I had to watch 4 YouTube videos and sign a piece of paper. Okay, now you're going to go back down to Riggins. That's the route they took us just to be able to work on the property via FEMA. And Florida Power and Light was forced to do that via FEMA, to get paid by FEMA on all the storm restoration. The same deal was with Dylan yesterday. Yeah, you know, they broke his stuff. They're not going to pay for it. And the local Forest Service cannot do their job because they're worried about getting fined. They won't get money from the government. They won't get the FEMA money because FEMA has to have their fingers in everything. And literally 1,000 fingers have to touch one thing to have it get done. It was heartbreaking when I was down here. You fix this one side of the street, and you look over here and you see the problem on the other side of the street. But we were told you cannot fix that. Even though we're here, we're willing and able, you cannot fix that. That's somebody else's job. And it just drove me nuts. And call me an old boy from Idaho, I didn't care. I did it. I told my crew, go do it. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. And I might deal with it later, but I don't really care. I was there, and it took about 30 minutes to get 20 more people on. It drives you nuts. And this lady, if you can call her that, is so inept and thinks the government should be running everything. What does the government run now? They can't run the Forest Service. They can't run the FEMA. They can't run the daggum post office. They can't drive. I wouldn't trust them to walk my dog. You know, give it back to the states. I think what we should start thinking about doing is each state should set aside a rainy day fund for disaster relief. Or if you pay X amount into the federal government, FEMA, whatever you want to call it, that's only how much you're going to get back. You know, something to that effect. So this money is just not completely wasted all the time. And Dylan is 100% correct. They will watch it burn. You know, Idaho, we're no strangers to fire. Fire's been around in the West forever. The problem is the sizes of the fire. Sizes of the fire have got exponentially bigger because of the lack of management, because the federal government will not let the state of Idaho manage their own forests. And Mr. Bob up there in New Meadows is 100% correct. We are only allowed into the national forest. It is not ours. The government sees it as theirs. They allow us in, which is polar opposite of what it should be. Polar opposite. They allow us in there. All it takes is some bird, spotted owl, a fish, just ask freaking Simpson over there in eastern Idaho, a newt, ask California, and you're out. A grizzly bear, a wolf, salamander, it doesn't matter. They'll pick something. The EPA is another great example. They can't run that. Then you hear this interview and you're like, this lady wants to run this country. And I'm just like, we're done. There's no coming back to this. I mean, people, I've been saying for years, have to remember and learn the power of the word no. No more, no more, no more. You should see our paychecks. We came down here, we got paid well. 48% of our checks went to the federal government. I did the math. 48%. I worked over 100 hours a week for the last 2 weeks. I did the math. It's 48% of my paycheck because all that overtime over 40 hours that I worked for the week, that was taxed exponentially higher. Riddle me that. And so you get these people in here, and Brett Barrett sounds like he did a fairly good job. I was thinking the exact question of why didn't you do anything? Another great example, the Border Patrol. I actually went down to Eagle Pass, Texas during that whole thing with 2 other buddies. Insane. It was insane. They had no idea how to run anything down there on the federal government side. But the Texans, they looked like well-oiled machines. They knew exactly what to do. And you cannot, it's hard to, until this trip, I could not wrap my mind around the money and how it is just wasted. But you listen to this interview and you think this lady can run anything, you want to hire her for anything? No. I wouldn't trust her to walk my dog. And the dog deserves better, quite frankly. So if he wants to drop a Kamala, I'll pay some high school kid to go pick it up, not her. I don't trust her to even do that. You know, people need to wake up. The amount of money that they're stealing from us through taxation and the amount of land that they're taking from us because we are not getting our lands back in the state of Idaho or any state, it's staggering. Staggering. But people wonder why it takes so long for power or sewer or whatever utility to come back in natural disasters like this. It's because of the inefficiencies that the government and the regulations that the government crams down the company's throat that we are not allowed to do. You just can't do our job. And then they threaten you with fines or I was threatened to be arrested if I go over there and do that by, the FP&L guy told me that that's what they're saying they're going to do if we start doing that type of thing. I'm like, they know where I am. I'll be right here. They don't understand. They just don't. They understand. They want the power. That's what it is. I understand that, and that's what it boils down to, power and money. Everything with the Democrat Party is power and money. Trump needs to get in here and gut the entire freaking government agency. The only agency that runs well is the freaking IRS. That's the only one that runs well. Now, I can't imagine why.
Our friend Jason joining us here from Georgia. Amazing that, Congressman Fulcher is looking at legislation that would make overtime pay tax-free. So maybe when the Republicans...
Absolutely.
I'm sure you would be in favor of that since you were taxed 48%.
Yeah, absolutely. And what even not just for overtime guys, blue-collar workers like myself, but the waitresses. When my wife was a waitress, it was like, well, didn't you get, $250 in tips today? You worked 8 hours? Yeah, I only got, $180 back after taxes. I'm like, waitresses, of all people, need the money the most. There's a reason why they're there. They might like their job, but they're there because they need to have a job. And they work hard to, go above and beyond for their customers. And to tax them on that, it just drives me nuts. They tax and double tax everything. And, you read the foundation of this country, and we fought a war over a 2% T-tax, although it was the last straw. There's a bunch of other taxes on top of that. And it's just like, no more. That's what they said. And it's getting to that point because they can't run anything. They've broken their contract with the American citizens, and the power of no needs to come back. Takes a backbone or takes some grit. But the power of no. Because if you start getting people like Dylan here, Dylan was a great example. And when he signed the affidavit allowing the Forest Service to come in to use the water to fight the fire, but the Loman Fire Department couldn't. It's just like, no, you're not gonna just say no to these guys. Everybody's gonna go fight this fire. Meanwhile, 450,000 acres burned down. The efficiency and lack of accountability is the killer. It's the killer in these agencies. The only reason I can imagine that being is just because, oh, well, next time we'll just gain a little bit more power, just a little bit more, death by 1,000 cuts. And, and what brings back to mind with the regulations and all that is the Bundy situation. I wasn't there for that. I don't know all the details about that, but I can guarantee you if something like that happens again, and it will, somebody stands up again, and they will, it's going to be a tipping point. Just enough. I mean, we talked before about this. My kin and my genealogy is from the South. And when we fought the war between the states, we just wanted a divorce. That's all we wanted. Just go our separate ways. You want to do it that way, we want to do it this way. Hamiltonians versus Jeffersonians. It's getting to that point. If you want to be communist and have the government and everything and be inefficient and tax yourselves into oblivion, go for it. No nation's ever taxed themselves into prosperity. So we're going to do it this way. It's getting to that point because unless somebody like Trump can get in there and literally gut and skin the government and rebuild it and put restrictions on there, like the Constitution's supposed to put restrictions on the government, not us, it's not going to change. It's just not. And it's frustrating. It was super frustrating for me down here. I couldn't stomach seeing the FEMA trucks. Couldn't stomach seeing how they were running things. Meanwhile, I'm dealing with, people in tears and people of joy and people of trying to just get them what they need. Old ladies on oxygen. But I can't. Or they say I can't, but when you just do it, you just do it. So, one of those times that they told me not to do it, well, this lady's walking around with an air tank that's like on 20%. And I'm like, all right, we're going. I don't care.
Right.
I just stopped caring.
Well, that's the true spirit of being an American, Jason. We appreciate you. We haven't given props to you and your company that has allowed you to do it. Please let everybody know.
Oh, yes, sir. I did last night at the when we stopped in, and they don't know because they're busy doing other things. But I find the time here and there, and I got a lot of friends in the Treasure Valley that listen to you. I've been getting calls from random friends and other companies, or a guy that works at Idaho Power and some other places. And that's a whole nother subject I can go on and on about, the Idaho Power fire. You do not want to sue Idaho Power because Idaho Power is the way it is with the prices it is because people haven't been sue happy like they have been at PG&E. Ask any Californian over there what their electrical price, their power price was at PG&E for a smaller house in the state of California. And I will put money down. It is about 4 to 5 times higher than it is here. Every time. Because we have hydroelectric power and we don't have Idaho Power trying to recoup the money from everybody getting sued. And California is an at-fault state. So if a car hits a pole in California and the power line comes down and starts a fire, PG&E is responsible because that pole wasn't reinforced hard enough. That's what will come if we start suing utilities like Idaho Power, Intermountain Gas, and the like, because something stupid or a freak accident happens and starts a fire. And you had a great example. There's a million cross arms out there, but that one broke. And I put up probably, 100,000 of those through my career. I never heard of one breaking, but they do break. They do. And you can't put these lines underground for a ton of reasons. One is geological, especially in our state. And 2, you want to keep that price down. Underground power lines is about 10 times more expensive. That's where that cost is going to come. It's worked this way And it works 99% of the time until it doesn't. But it's electricity. It's natural gas. Things can happen. So don't do it. If Idaho Power truly becomes P&E Junior, like I always call it because of other reasons, it's going to quadruple your prices. Quadruple.
Yes.
There's no way around it.
Well, Jason, didn't you want to give your company a shout out?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I work for Titan Electric. We are a contractor for Idaho Power. You'll see us around the valley here probably not next week. We might take the few work days off, but the week after that. And if you see us, give us a honk. Let Idaho Power know that to keep up the good work. I do know, like Dylan said, Idaho Power goes above and beyond. They really put the customers first. And if they break something, they do their absolute best to put it back. Sometimes you have to stay on them. They're a large company. Sometimes you got to stay on them, but they will do their best to put things back the way they found it.
Titan Electric, Jason, please call us again. Have fun in Tennessee. And we appreciate all the work that you and your crew and so many others. And thank you for taking care of that lady on oxygen, sir, and so many others. And the dog yesterday. We love the dogs.
Yeah. I'm a big softy like you for dogs, Kevin, and can't stand to see anything suffer. So I appreciate it, Kevin. I'll give you a holler later. Keep up the hard work and keep everybody informed in the Charger Valley there.
Thank you, Jason. Safe travels.
Thank you.
There we have it. Jason from the road, spending most of the last month getting power back on from Titan Electric. Remember them. Paulie, hang on. We'll get to you next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Morning, Kevin. I hope I didn't cause too much of a ruckus talking about hot yesterday, but I think it's a hot button issue when and wherever you talk about it. And it's one I think this state needs to have a good long discussion about instead of just pushing the buttons over there and dropping the paper into the ballot box. I'm not exactly 100% against marijuana. I think it has medicinal purposes. I think if Granny's knees are hurting her and she needs that CBD oil to be able to move around the house and touch around and feed the cat, I think maybe if she had the CBD oil, I think that'd be all right, as long as you couldn't boil it down and turn it into some kind of marijuana juice and shoot it up in your arm and get high that way or whatever. I disagree with that. And, I get it. I was a product of the 70s and 80s and 90s and till present. But, you either have a come to Jesus moment or you don't. And if you don't think you have a problem with it, you're getting tickets and you're living a lifestyle that maybe not be conducive to the way law enforcement wants you to, maybe you got a problem. Maybe it's time to look at it. I'm not an arbiter of the discussion whether or not you do have a problem or not. That's not me. It's not who I am. So if I caused a lot of people grief yesterday talking about, never having it in the state of Idaho, I don't agree with that. However, I think there's a time and a place for it to be grown, and I think it should be grown on Nez Perce property, and I think it should have the auspices of the state police to oversee what's going on to make sure that it's done in a legal manner, and then they can make their CBD or their gummies or whatever it is that these people are taking nowadays. Back in the day, I would roll a joint and I'd smoke it. It was that simple.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. I've never smoked. I've never smoked a joint.
Okay, you had a pipe.
No, I didn't have a pipe. No, they. The problem with that is, it smells. Everything smells. It's horrible.
You just in your clothes. You walk into a room and people can smell you from across the room.
Right. They go, there's the dope smoker.
It's a pothead. Yeah, I get it. I'm glad that lifestyle has left me, and it's left me a long time ago. but it's always there. All I have to do is pick up the first one, and I'll be right back acting in the way society does not want me to act and behave and be a productive member of society. Because we're outliers when we live like that. We're not a part of society, and we think that we can do pretty much whatever it is that we want to do and get away with it. And that's not the way life is in America. If you trample on my rights, that ain't right. Something's got to keep you from trampling on my rights. And so, I didn't want to drop an A-bomb without having a discussion about the rest. You can only say so much in 5 minutes, and then the other 5 minutes you got to wait 24 hours for. There's a lot of grumbling going on inside the tent, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Anyway, I appreciate your forum that you have for us to be able to say that. I mean, if somebody wants to call in and if that's the way you want the topic to go, then that's the way it'll go. But I see a need for it, and that's for people that have, problems with their joints and whatnot, and they can't get around the kitchen and they can't do what they want to do. And that's to even walk out to their mailbox. And, I'm getting older too, so I better put a disclaimer in that I may need it someday. But as of right now, I'm completely 100% marijuana free. And that's why I'm going to stay until the day I die and I'm pitched in a hole.
Paulie, God bless you. Thank you for always letting us know the view from the streets. We appreciate you.
Well, somebody had to do it. Now somebody's got to inform the public. Not the ones that are getting high. It's the ones that are the truly good citizens. And I'll tell you again, and I've told you this before, twice at least, that is the reason why I stayed here is primarily because of the LDS community. They were not druggies. They were not alcohol imbibers. They were just good citizens. And they wanted to keep their communities clean of that stuff, and I understand that. And now infiltrators have come in, and they want it their way, and it's a clashing of two titans.
Paulie, thank you for the call. We appreciate you. Phone number's here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. If you're looking for a new car under $20,000, listen to what I'm about to tell you. There are no new cars for under $20,000. So if your budget is under $20,000, what are you going to do? Well, your best bet is a good quality used car from a dealership you can trust. That dealership is Treasure Valley Subaru at the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore. Because when you buy from Rob and his crew, they will take care of you, and they always have a good selection of pre-owned cars under $20,000. That's right, under $20,000. Kevin Miller, what do you mean? Here's a few examples for $19.95 or less. A 2023 Kia Soul with only 27,000 miles. Wow. How about a 2024 Nissan Versa with only 5,000 miles? A couple of good, reliable cars for under $10,000? Yes. A 2005 Toyota Highlander, or how about a red 2008 Ford Mustang? Many of the best under $20,000 cars sell before they even get listed on the website. So I'd recommend that you go out there, walk the lot at the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore at Treasure Valley Subaru and see what's available today. Treasure Valley Subaru and the Idaho Center Pre-Owned Superstore together on one giant lot at the Idaho Center Auto Mall or at TreasureValleySubaru.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Now, again, people are fired up about Ashton Genty. We have a story for you on our website about him. But even Jeff Choate, Idaho native and coach of Nevada, had this to say about the Boise State running back.
It's good for any group of five player that has the type of performance that he has. I mean, he's a tremendous player. By all, one of his teammates was a guy named Jalen Ford when he played at Lone Star, and Jalen played for me at Texas. And I mean, Jalen just was so complimentary of the type of young man that Ashton is. So I think it's awesome when good things happen to good people. Number one, he's a tremendous player. They have a really good team, so I think that combination is awesome for the exposure that it brings to West Coast football and the Mountain West right now. We went through a similar thing when Kellen was kind of a guy that was mentioned. There was a little bit of buzz about about a guy named Doug Martin back then. So I think it's hard to argue with the fact that this guy's one of the best football players in the country. So
there we have it from Idaho native Jeff Choate. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time. End all interviews. And we're asking the question, would you hire the vice president to run your company, to run your crew, to run anything? If you're a liberal in the media, I think she did a great job. And now they're bagging on Fox. If, in fact, you're a conservative or someone that just kind of sees everything, you judge it by, do you have any money after you go to the store? Well, you know the answer to it, that it's not very good. And now here we have ABC News comparing Kamala Harris this morning to George Washington. Oh, let's hear what she has to say about this one.
Well, Kamala Harris is out here crisscrossing these critical states, hoping to reach that small sliver of voters who can still be persuaded with just days to go. She's doing targeted interviews, even sitting down with Fox News and holding events with Republicans, trying to reach voters where they are. This morning, Kamala Harris appealing to key constituencies, looking to lock down those votes still up for grabs with just 20 days to go. Hoping to solidify support from black men, the vice president stopping by black-owned businesses in Detroit and sitting down with popular radio host Charlemagne the God, outlining her plan to boost black home ownership, grow generational wealth, and lower prescription drug costs, trying to cut through misinformation about her agenda. Harris also trying to win over conservative voters not happy with the former president, sitting down today for her first interview with Fox News and appearing in must-win Pennsylvania with over 200 elected Republicans, including former members of Congress like Adam Kinzinger, who served on the January 6th committee and has blasted Trump as a threat to democracy. Now at that event today, Harris will make a big push for bipartisan unity, urging Republicans to put country ahead of party. She will make the case standing at the same site where George Washington famously crossed the Delaware River during the Revolutionary War.
Crossing the Delaware. Does this sound like George Washington to you, friend?
Iran
regime.
That we had an American military base that was attacked, where American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches, not to mention how Donald Trump has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers,
Hamas,
has diminished the significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision that they feel.
Who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things
There's more to say. I have much more to say,
there are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why
I invite everyone to go to KamalaHarris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do
and that's why we invited you here,
our economy,
to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Right. Remember, it was Biden that embraced the woke. It was Biden that embraced, really just rewiring the entire military. And she's Joe Biden, right? Lee Joe, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lee Joe.
Good morning, sir. Hey, that soundbite is exactly why I did not tune in to that interview. Oh, my goodness. Cannot stand her. I wanted to say, Jason is right. Now, earlier this week, you kind of poo-pooed a story about the North Carolina militia trying to run FEMA out of their local, wherever they were at. And that's why right there. Jason pretty much summed it up. They can't do anything. I mean, they want power, they want control, And can you imagine turning all your resources over to a person who doesn't even know where they just landed on a map and saying, "Okay, you're in charge"? I saw this with the NIFC and the Forest Service and the BLM when I fought fires for a couple of years, and the words that Ronald Reagan spoke, that's when he said, "We're from the government and we're here to help," are the most terrifying words you can hear, are absolutely true. They can't do anything. This little fire on the foothills up here that we just had, I got blocked from going up to my job site. Well, I know government employees are dumb, so I just found another road and went around, and I got up to my job site. I explained to the firefighters that were up there, including one of the battalion chiefs of the local Boise Fire Department, said, "Hey, there's $80,000 worth of erosion control on these slopes. Could you try to protect that $80,000? And believe me, as a former wildland firefighter, I know it wouldn't have been that hard for him to do. I asked him not to light their backfires from the bottom of the slope where there's these little, they're called straw wattles. You've seen them on a slope that stop water from taking all the dirt away. And so eventually I left, and where do you think they started the fire from? That's right there at the bottom of the straw wattles. They do not care what you think, nor do they want to do their jobs. They are there for the paycheck.
Well, that's a pretty serious allegation. You're saying that they don't want to do their jobs.
Yeah, it would have taken nothing. Believe me, it would have taken nothing. Fire department sitting there with an engine, and they could have lit a backfire from the top of the slope and simply sprayed the backside of the fire, and all of that slope would have been protected. But they just give you this flippant attitude, absolutely flippant attitude. Like, it's no big deal. You lose $80,000 worth of erosion control, and it wasn't out of their pocket. No big deal. And they're supposed to be protecting property, and guess what? That is property, and an expensive property by the time you pay a contractor to put all of it in. And when I was fighting fires, like I said, I saw the same thing. People would show up at a fire, and whoever the BLM agent in charge was or whatever, they would literally just sit crews down, watch the fire burn, wait for it to get bigger so that they could get more paydays on a fire line as it was taking off across the countryside instead of, direct attack engagement, put the fire out. That's their mindset is, how can I make this more profitable for me? Seen it 1,000 times. The helicopters, there's helicopters sitting on fires, and that's what they do. They sit all day on a fire, but in order to get paid for the fire, they have to make one flight. So they light it up, they go look at the fire, and they come back. That's it. There's your firefighting pay for the day.
Well, that's a total indictment of our entire safety systems. Lee Joe, thank you for the call. Let's go to more of your calls. Cowboy Calvin joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Cowboy Calvin, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Good morning, Americans. Kevin, I was in drug enforcement years ago, and I can tell you firsthand that that's the gateway to a lot of trouble. I've seen lost lives, broken families, people ended up homeless in despair. It goes on. And then these people have the option, if they want that, they can go back to California or Oregon or Washington. And what it does, if you legalize it, it creates a black market because these investors are regulated, and they have to sell more to pay back their investment. Excuse me.
Well, it's all about return on investment. You're right. And, you take a look, really, what state has benefited? The legalized drug trade is so horrible in California that they've actually, had to close down these weed shops because everybody continues to buy this stuff from the black market, and in Oregon as well.
No, well, that's true. That's true. And I know I can't speak in other states, but, like in Oregon, Washington, it's illegal for the young people to smoke a cigarette, but then they turn around and say it's legal to smoke a joint.
Yes, the same people that want to make sure that you can't smoke a cigarette legally are the same ones that want you to ingest the marijuana, which is terrible for your lungs. Terrible for your lungs. Right.
I agree. But, and I want to move on to what Lee was saying. I had to fight a fire at 18, a forest fire, when they had forest fires and range fires, now there's wildfire. But the inefficiency in the organization and mismanagement of the people that are in control are astronomical. We're like the boots on the ground, and we have to take orders, but we can't proceed and just jump in there and do anything until we get some guy from probably Washington, D.C. to tell us what to do.
I agree. Cowboy Calvin, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I just think that, I want to mention, our vice president, she claims, Trump's racist and all that, but she keeps calling us white dudes, and then he called the black guys black men. Well, I take exception to that. I'm not a dude. I'm a cowboy. I'm not a. But she draws a line between the two, and I don't think that's necessarily good for the country.
Cowboy Calvin, thank you very much. We appreciate you always.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. God bless. We continue on. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. 580-KIDO. You know it's going bad when you're a liberal, you're running for the Senate in Washington State, and all of a sudden you start talking about Donald Trump and you get this reaction.
Our Puget Sound economy depends on it. But I just want to warn these guys of something. Housing everywhere in the United States of America is expensive as all get out. We haven't built enough supply. I was in a key negotiation 5 years ago to get a bipartisan bill that would have built hundreds of thousands, up to 1 million units by now. But Donald Trump came in and squashed that deal. So
Yeah, they're booing her. They're not booing Donald Trump. Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Installation Studio, while police and paramedics finish cleaning up an accident right near Ustick and Maple Grove. The tow truck's on the scene right now. You could be detoured around that area. And also off on the side of the road on the left-hand side of the freeway right at Garrity have the leftovers of an accident there. Treasure Valley Coffee is celebrating 40 years of serving Southern Idaho business community, and they now offer bar and restaurant supplies. Check out tpcoffee.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Dave Burnett, another hour to go. We appreciate more phone calls. Would you hire Kamala Harris? And oh, yes, our friends at Window World are here, so we'll be getting new windows, going through the entire process while we're live on the radio, the first time that this has ever happened in America. And we do want to thank our friends at windowworldboise.com. So we're going to evaluate their great work as it happens, documented right here on Idaho's talk station, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget as well, some great stories on our website. We love the website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. The inside story of how Ashton, Genty, and Boise State continue to turn heads. Those stories and more. Join the App Yap Club. Have fun with us. Good morning. 580-KIDO. We'll be here at the Star Broadcast Center for the couple days, thanks to our friends at Window World Boise. And they're putting in the windows today, so we're going to see how that rolls, and very excited about that. So a lot of things that we talk about on the radio, live as it happens, windowworldboise.com. Thank you for that. And thank you all for being here. We're taking your reaction to the big enchilada last night. No more debates, no more anything. And Harris continues to lose steam despite the media now ripping Brett Baer and Fox News.
Honestly, I'm less interested in participation ribbons here. I mean, I feel like every time she does one of these interviews, we sort of end up defaulting to, well, at least she tried. That I just don't think that's good enough for running for president of the United States.
How did Trump do at the economic?
I thought he did fine. How did she do? How did she do?
You would never say he didn't do well. Tell me.
I have repeatedly said he has no.
She did.
Did I or did I not criticize him on the NABJ
or the dance
on this show? Did I or did I not?
But
so you're wrong, and you can admit it.
Did you watch him at the Economic Club?
I thought he was fine. I thought it worked fine.
He literally was nonsensical.
First of all, he did not.
You could disagree with me.
No, I don't
thought
disagree.
Yeah, see, again, they're switching it to Donald Trump. Harris bombed. Thankfully, it appears the country ain't buying what she's selling. Let's go to the stuntman, Colt Seavers, joining us now on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I just want to chime in on Miss Harris, Comrade Harris's her performance last night. It was a complete no-show. She might as well not have been there. It was, where's the hamburger? Where's the bun? It was a complete waste, utter waste of time. The woman cannot have a conversation. She was rude. She was arrogant. And I think Brett Baer was trying to do a decent job for the American people. And Kamala Harris was just going to run the gamut on him. I never heard her run her mouth like that before. She was so afraid that he would get in a question and she'd have to answer it, that she was going to just deny any opportunity for that to happen. Now, on another note, I have some inside information about the future. And I just want to tell people, I want everyone to get ready for what's going to happen. I'm not going to put you into a panic, but I'm going to just say this. The left has a plan, and that is to cause civil unrest and to declare martial law and cancel the next election. That's their goal. I don't think they're going to get away with it, but that's their goal. They want to take over, and the socialist, Marxist government that we have in the world order of the UN wants to take over. As you all know, everyone knows this is in the plan. But what you don't know is that if Trump wins, they are going to start chaos. They're going to get civil unrest going with all these illegals, and then they're going to cancel the election. So we have to maintain, be vigilant. I hate to tell people to go get some food, but that's what you better do. Because apparently they're going to do it either way, but they're really going to do it if Trump wins. They've got to stop it. The only way they have left to stop it is to literally cancel Trump. They've tried to cancel him every other way. They haven't been successful. And now there's one opportunity left, and that's create civil unrest. So just get ready, get your boots on, get some extra cans of soup, and be ready. And that's all I have to say. What do you think about that, Kevin?
Well, I hope you're wrong, stuntman. I hope you're wrong.
I do too. I really do. If enough of us show up to vote, and it's an absolute knockdown, drag out, and we win way over the top. We got to win way over the top. I've now taken my kids, their buddies, and I've driven them all to the voting place in Caldwell to make sure that they're registered. That's what we all got to do now. So, yeah, I hate to be the bearer of gloom, but, man, that was not good last night. That was just an embarrassment.
All right, stuntman, thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you this fine morning?
Not bad. Just getting my windows put in. You'll be hearing the drilling coming up. It's very exciting stuff here. It's
well, I heard the spot. You're excited.
Exactly.
Well, I had a couple, nothing earth-shattering, couple observations about the interview. So one thing that struck me, a lot of things struck me, but one thing that struck out was, and I think is in one of the sound bites that you had this morning, in talking about her economic policy. So she said, our plan.
Right.
And I thought, if I participate in a plan, and if I'm running for office, I'd be saying my plan. So did that sound a little off to you? Because I have a comment on that.
It does sound off. It's she's not very focused.
Well, so she touted, and as right before the hour, you had the soundbite, her 80-page plan. Go to her website, right? So sound impressive. I remember last night, but this morning, so I took a look at her 80-page plan. And a couple things. No surprises here, nothing earth-shattering. So, number one, 80 pages, yeah, but if you look at the word count, it's really maybe half that amount in terms of actual words. A lot of blank pages, graphics and photos and all that. So 80 pages, yeah, sounds impressive, but it's not 80 pages of content.
Right.
And the other part is, it says it's a plan, but it's surprise, it's a campaign document. It's not a plan. Mostly rhetoric versus substance. There's lack of specific implementation plans. And even the statistics, they're really more about supporting a political narrative than actually a policy and why it's going to work. There's no detailed budgeting in it, all of that type of stuff. So it's a campaign document. I wasn't surprised, but if you look at it, it's got 180 footnotes. So there's a reason she can't speak to it. She didn't write this, obviously, have any participation nor any grasp of any of the principles. And I think Brett did a really good job. I think maybe if he had at least looked at this document, he could have just asked another one of those questions that would have shown that she's a blank page, something about the document, because clearly she doesn't even know what's in there. And so that kind of was the other point I was thinking is, when you think about it, the Dems were planning all along, the marionette, Obama, had it all figured out, and so did Pelosi, and they got taken by surprise. So I think Kamala never expected this to happen, because if there's any inkling that this would, she would have at least had a few more snapshots and sound bites that she can point to, because she had no accomplishments, not even minor, not even political gestures in the interview to point to about her record. She had to evade the whole thing. So to me, it's kind of logical. She didn't expect to be in this position. Otherwise, she would have at least in 3.5 years found something to make herself look good so that she could have had a talking point in an interview like this. So I think that's kind of been her record. She's never had initiative. That's the other thing is a person with initiative, you don't need to be told to do certain things. You find something to do. And I think a lot of first ladies, but vice presidents, of course, they're the vice president. They're not the commander in chief, but they at least are not just sitting around playing solitaire like rumor has it, like she was. She's a deer in the headlight for a number of reasons.
Mike and Boyd, for the call. We continue on here. Our friends at Window World working on the windows as we speak. We're a totally transparent show here. We continue on. Let's go to the guru of New Meadows, Idaho, and that would be Tea Party Bob on KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you this fine day? With your windows going in, you're going to be able to see the sunshine again.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear them in the background. Can you at all?
No, actually, I can't. You must have some good soundproofing in there.
Well, anyway, thank you for that. What can we do for you today?
So anyway, Kamala got her interview with Fox, but showed up 15 minutes late. And then they cut the time back that was originally planned by Fox by another 5 minutes. So this did her no good, and I believe it was just an act of desperation as Trump continues to pull ahead of her in the national polls and in many of the swing states. She's proven once again that she's not ready for prime time and certainly not prepared to run the country. This woman is nothing more than a puppet for the elitists who have had designs on taking over our country for decades. And Jason's right. He's right on the fact that we need to gut the bureaucratic state. Trump's the only one who's going to be able to do that. They've been building this thing up for years, and this is their opportunity to take control. And boy, they're going to do everything they can to do it. They try to control us with all of their wacky rules and regulations. They suck the life out of our country. And I keep saying, this is all about money and power. We have a government that was elected to serve the people, but it has turned into a government that serves itself. And when you see how the government has performed in the states hit by the 2 hurricanes and how ineffectual FEMA has been in getting things back to normal, it should make every American's blood boil. Jason saw firsthand how bad the government really is. They are just as ineffectual in controlling our wildfires. And as I said yesterday, they don't want people to live in the forest. They do everything they can to get them to leave. From closing off vast areas for conservation to limiting and controlling our water sources with rules and regulations, and they even put up barriers so you can't get into the wilderness areas. They know they can't control people who hunt and farm and are generally self-sufficient. They want everyone to depend on the nanny state for just about everything and keep them crowded in the big cities where they are easier to control. You know, the Democrats are in trouble and desperate. They're going to try anything to hold on to power. And the taxpayer piggy bank especially. There have been 2 attempts on Trump's life that have failed, and I would not be surprised if there was one more in the future. The neocons and elitists are the disease that is killing our country, and they know Trump is the cure. They are highly respected people who are saying that the left wants to get us involved in another war, either in the Middle East or Ukraine before Trump takes office. NATO has no love for Trump ever since he made them pay their fair share. And you can bet all eyes are on the U.S. presidential election in November, where Joe Biden, the man who resurrected NATO, and now his surrogate Kamala, could be defeated by what they consider an insurrectionist who doesn't really know what NATO is. The neocons are desperate to start a war and invoke Article 5 to prevent Trump from even exiting the war, which would be very detrimental to fixing the problems in our country. These are the same neocons that have not won a single war, yet they have lied about everything from Vietnam to Iraq to start the wars. If they can get us into a war, I also think they will see the opportunity to have chaos in our streets, especially the big cities, as Trump goes after the illegals to deport them. I haven't got much else to say, my friend. I hope your windows go in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you again for my time.
Thank you, Tea Party Bob. Let's go to Scott Cleveland, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having us on. Hope you're doing well with the window.
Well, Bo, let's see if we can get his phone working again. Apparently, we've been waiting to have Mr. Cleveland on and got some phone issues there. We'll see if we can get him back on. And you're welcome to join us as well, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We always love hearing what you have to say. And obviously, you know, Kamala Harris, her interview, her reaction to the interview, what's next. But you have to be able to answer a big question. So Roland Martin, who is still a very big deal, used to be on television quite a bit, now has his own media empire, had a chance to ask Kamala Harris, why do you want to be the president?
Yes. Why do you want to be president? There's somebody who's saying, why should I trust her with the power of being commander-in-chief?
I love our country, Roland. I believe in the American people. And I know we are a people who have the character, that have ambition, that have aspirations, dreams. And I intend to be a president who meets people with opportunities for them to not just get by, but get ahead.
Yeah, it really isn't that good of an answer. Let's go back to Scott Cleveland, who joins us once again. Great to have you with us, sir, and sorry about the phone issues. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me okay, and thanks for having me back on the show, Kevin.
Well, always a pleasure. Your thoughts about the state of things politically, sir?
Well, I got lots of notes here to go over with you. I've been kind of on a 5 sabbatical since the primary, but been paying attention. There's certainly a lot going on. I guess I'll start with the presidential election. Kevin, I didn't watch every minute of the interview last night, but regardless of how much you watched or didn't watch, the race is pretty much over. President Donald Trump is definitely going to win the election. That's my prediction. You know, the Harris can't believe that they're hoping that Americans have been asleep or comatose for the last 3.5 years while they are busy flying around in their Learjets, the Learjet liberals. They've been flying to Davos Valley. Meanwhile, the average Americans in this country, Kevin, have been working extra hours, picking up a second job, working 2 or 3 jobs. Average Americans have been paying 30% or more for just about everything that they buy, including insurance. And meanwhile, we've been watching our government spend billions of our tax dollars on foreign governments and, even worse, foreign invasion of America. And America is not down for that. And that is exactly why Trump is going to win. We're tired of this outrageous nonsense. The table is set. You have 4 years of Trump's actual track record to compare, not maybe what he's going to do, his actual track record. And now we've had 3.5 long years of the Biden-Harris policies. And I think Americans are not that stupid. They know who's better off. They know that they were better off when Trump was in office. There are people that are better off. Big business is better off, but not small business owners. Special interest groups, they're better off, not the taxpayers. Career criminals in this country and the ones that came in illegally, they're better off, but not the law-abiding citizens in your average city and town. The national debt holders, they're better off, but not the future taxpayers. And the youth of your kids and grandkids are going to get stuck paying this bill someday. The government-run education system has been funded with uncountable amounts of money. And meanwhile, student test scores and aptitudes keep going down. So here's the good news, Kevin. Every 4 years, the voters get to hold the card, the FU card, in America. And I'm going to predict that the biggest FU in a long time is coming their way here in about 18 days because America is tired of the incompetent, corrupt, bloated system in Washington, D.C., and they can't wait to reelect Donald J. Trump as a symbol of that. And they're going to get rid of the status quo. That's my presidential prediction anyways.
Well, we appreciate that. Scott Cleveland joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. What do you make of the ranked choice voting? How's that going to play out?
Well, Prop 1 is, I predict Prop 1 is going to get defeated as well. And there's a couple reasons for that. There's an old saying, Kevin, the people will support what they help create. And your average American citizen, your average Idaho voter, had nothing to do with this Frankenstein liberal laboratory voting system. And people don't like change to begin with. Whether it's good or bad, people just are afraid of change in general. So it's a bad idea. It's going to lose. And for those reasons and others, I don't think it's going to be all that close. Most of that was cooked up by out-of-state liberal dollars. They poured millions of dollars, a couple $1 million minimum into it. They're running lots of TV and radio ads. But I just don't think it's going to fly. That's my prediction on Prop 1.
Well, we will see how it plays out, Mr. Cleveland. We always appreciate the time. And from what I understand, you've had quite the adventures in your van. You've got that all tricked out. Maybe you should do a YouTube channel. You watch these things, people living in their cars. Apparently, you tricked out your campaign van and had some great adventures on the trail.
Yeah, that's the campaign bus. I showed it to your wife. I bought some flowers from her the other day, and she did a great job on those. And she walked them out to the bus, the short bus, and I showed it to her, and she was impressed with that. The flowers were beautiful and held up very well for my wife's birthday, so that was great. And I'm glad she's doing good, and you're doing good, and I appreciate you having us on the show. I'm happy to call in anytime. There's other important races here in the Valley. You got the sheriff's race, a couple county commissioners. Those are pretty predictable.
Well, you're not predictable, but we would love to add you to our weekly contributors list. So we will make sure we have a
right.
time slot concretely entrenched for you, sir.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, the interview last night, you had a lot of sense about it this morning. It reminds me of when I had a friend that was drunk all the time, and he was a great guy, but he was a drunk. And the first time I ever talked to him when he was sober, it was like, oh, this is no good. That's kind of what reminded me of Kamala Dukakis' performance night. She showed up sober, and she wasn't good.
Well, you know, you bring up a good point. And how many people had a drinking game where, you know, every time she said Donald Trump, they took a drink?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, everything wrong is Trump's fault is not an effective political strategy, and they're going to find that out here in a few days.
Oh, by the way, my father-in-law really enjoyed his Trump Vance sign, so thank you for that. It's proudly on display in Donley.
All right, perfect. I'm happy to spread the love.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care, Kev. Bye.
Bye-bye, our friend Scott Cleveland. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say, stop freaking, call Beacon today. Beacon Plumbing for all your plumbing needs. They bring you Fox News Now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning. 36580 KIDO. Let's go to Concerned in Emmett with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Concerned.
Good morning, Kevin. Yeah, a few callers ago, you had a guy on there that was talking about the chaos that probably will ensue after the election or during the election. And, you know, I believe that's the case, too. You know, I believe there's going to be some kind of chaos. This thing's going to be drug out. There's obviously something. They are not going to give up their control of this country. They are, like he said, they have tried everything, even some of the assassination attempts to stop the takeover of the government in a sense. These people are so entrenched, you know, in the government. It's, you know, if Trump gets in, and I pray that he does, that, you know, we need to remove the head spots of all these agencies and put a whole new realm in there of people that can think. You know, I just don't understand why, you know, this country, you know, half these people continue to. The reason we have this government is because the people continue to put these people in. You know, we have places like San Francisco and California that they continue to vote the same people back in that are destroying their own little state, along with, you know, Minneapolis and some of these places. You know, they continue to put them back in. You know, on our money, it says, "In God we trust," and that's what's missing here. You know, there's so many people in this country that have been taught in the school. We've removed God out of the country, and we no longer have a country that's a whole of "In God we trust." We're split down the middle, and this is, you know, in the Bible it talks about in the later days there'll be a great deception, and I think it's what we're seeing right now. Is that I just can't understand how people can't see what's going on. You know, they destroy our cities, and we continue to vote them back in. This country, half of them continue to put this government back in. You know, going on what Tea Party Bob said. You know, this government where it's at. It's not the government that is getting control. It's the people that are giving them the control by continuing to vote these people in. And that's what's missing in this country is why, you know, we continue to put them in. And right now you can see the small portion of a tyrannical government coming in. And if you look at all the countries that have let this happen and take over their government, you know, Germany, Japan, and you look at the chaos that pursues, you know, that follows afterwards to clean it up. I mean, you look at Gaza right now and Syria and stuff. This is what happens when you let a tyrannical government come in and start infiltrating the whole entire system. And that's what we have allowed by teaching our kids that America is, you know, in school, all the bad things, instead of showing them the history and letting them learn and make decisions based on the history of what happened. We took that out. So now it's a free for all, and it's a half of a godless nation, I think, that continues to vote these people in. I mean, it's too you can't understand why people can't see the logic here. You know, you can demonize Trump all you want to. You can call him everything you want to, but don't you dare go the other way. And, you know, and 2 assassination attempts on him and other things, and it's dropped from the news. Boy, I can't imagine if an assassination attempt happened to Biden or Harris. I mean, it'd be on the news constant. You know, it's obvious our government has been is got way too much control, and the people need to remove him. And I hope on this election, and I pray on this election that happens and there is no chaos. But I got a feeling that they're not going to give up this fight easy. So,
well, do you buy the fact that there's going to be trouble? And, everybody is yapping about how Donald Trump loses, it's going to be trouble. But tell me, concerned, whether or not you believe there's going to be trouble if the left loses. People haven't really been talking about that.
Yes. If the left loses, there's going to be trouble, too, because, like I said, they're entrenched. The government, you have another month or so before the turnover of power. And right now with the FBI and the DOJ and all these heads that they've put in there that are basically tyrannical people, the Obama leftovers that want to change this country, they're going to do whatever they can to create chaos within that month or so before Trump actually gets in. They're going to fight tooth and nail and do whatever they can, try to put him in prison, try to do whatever they can. And that's what they're attempting to do. So I think it's chaos both ways. I think if Trump wins, you're going to see cities burning. You're going to see all things rioting and whatnot. And I think the other way, it's going to be the same. I just think it's some of the price we got to pay as this nation for letting God out of our system and letting people in this country illegally and not being legal. And if people can't see that, it's a God thing, because I don't understand why they can't. And all I can refer to is biblical things that says there'll be a blinding later on. And that's got to be what's happening. And just got to pray for this country. I believe in it, and I believe that it doesn't take a majority to win it back. With God, even a minority can take it back. And I hope that's what happens.
Thank you, Concern. You have a great day.
You too. God bless.
God bless. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Back, ready to go. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Back to your calls, reacting to the Harris interview, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Captain Harry. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Thank you for the call.
Top of the morning, Kevin. Your last caller was right on. It's gonna get ugly on no matter who wins. But Trump is gonna win. But they're going to fire up all the rioters in the streets, and it's going to get ugly because they're going to go after the electoral college, is what I just heard. They're already planting the seeds on it, and they're going to have a lot of rioters out there say that's their proof that the people want the popular vote to be the winner. But Trump is already starting to look like he might actually win the popular vote. So people, I got to say it. You got to vote. Too big to rig. And that's the bottom line. We've got to beat them so bad that they cannot out-cheat us. They're gonna, it's gonna be ugly. But they're going after the electoral college. They're trying to wipe that out because they always win the popular vote with California and places like that that are calming to the hilt. But that's all I got right there. You got to vote. All the religious people, the biker people, everybody, get out there. You have never voted. It's time now. So thank you for your time, Kevin. I'll be standing by.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's go to Mark, the watchdog of Eagle.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Concern hit the nail on the head. And, he is right, even as the person who's agnostic but does believe in a higher positive force out there. When they started taking God out of the schools and things, this is what happens. And, it goes further back than you think. It's even before Obama. Obama was the big step to put us into a globalist socialist world that you have already seen going on over there in Europe and bring it to our doorstep. They invaded Europe with all the immigrants coming out of Africa, the Middle East, and they've now done it here. So, and you wonder why Kamala doesn't say too much. It's because she's, what do you want to spill the beans of what the globalist socialist puppet masters are going to do? They're going to control her just like they did the village idiot Biden. I can't say this, I can't say that because I might get in trouble. How many times do we hear that come out of Biden's mouth and it was coherent enough to even say that? So, no, it goes all the way back to the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated. That's where this big step towards in that cancer within our country. He was killed and assassinated by an enemy within this country. The cancer has grown. It's metastasized. It's gotten so large. It has overtaken our agencies, intelligence agencies, the military, the DOJ, you name it. And it's there. And I don't know how you eradicate it now. And so that's my thought. And, yeah, remember I mentioned yesterday about the Department of Defense directive about supplying the military forces to police agencies if needed to quell rioting. So let's see what happens there. And I did. The reason why, Kevin, you mentioned yesterday, and I'm going to change this topic, get off the politics for a second. You mentioned the new gas station going in on Chinden Road across from the new Costco. Now, I've talked to John Jackson in years past. He, owns thousands of Jackson gas station mini marts all over the Northwest.
Ask John Jackson to come on this show then if you talk to him all the time.
Well, no, I didn't talk to him on it. This was years ago, okay, on another show. His margins were 2 to 3 cents a gallon, he claimed on another show one time, okay, years back. Now, you tell me how I can go into Costco 3 days ago and pay for 87 octane.
You already said this yesterday.
$3.02 a gallon. I sent it to you in an email. I never got a chance to get on. $3.02 a gallon. How does Costco sell gasoline when there's only two of them here in the Valley at 45 cents a gallon cheaper? Without taking a humongous loss, there was no special sale going on. It was $3.02 a gallon. Now, everybody else around here, Sinclair, Shell, Chevron, they're all $3.47, $3.49. You tell me if we aren't getting gouged by the retailers in this valley, if we're not being overpriced, overcharged. Because remember Wasden, when he was the AG, he tried to point out that there was price gouging and fixing of the prices by the retailers in the valley. So that's all I want to say on that. I'll let you take some other callers. You have a good day.
Thank you, Mark. And, a lot of people were very critical of the former Attorney General Lawrence Wasden. And Lawrence Wasden took on the big gas retailers in the state, and they settled with him because, in my opinion, he was going to win. And what our lovely legislature did after the Attorney General that a lot of people criticized, a lot of people liked, the legislature changed the law so he couldn't hold the big money gas retailers accountable. See that if you just got to the state, that's the type of action you missed in conservative Idaho. Mark's point, look, Costco is a successful multi-billion-dollar enterprise. I don't know how gas obviously is a loss leader. And far be it for me to defend the oil companies and anybody else. However, the bottom line here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, is that Costco doesn't have a problem losing money on gas because they have a membership site and they can do whatever they want. And obviously they make enough money to compensate for their loss in gasoline.
Over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president, one, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%? Listen, are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
Notice everything it's always Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump is so bad, then why has America turned off to you? That's really, thankfully, people are coming home. The chickens are coming home to roost. Let's go back to the phones. Eric in Cuna. Good morning, Eric. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, good morning. Really great show today. I can't really add to what a lot of the callers said because it's everything I've been thinking. But boy, you just listen to her. She sits there and says all the stuff that she is guilty of. If you take everything that Kamala says and attribute it to her, it's her. When he's talking about the enemy within, he's talking about them. That's who he's talking about. He's talking about the current administration. And she never, it's so annoying. That's what you were talking about earlier. She is just an unaccountable brat, kind of like a child. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about earlier this morning. You want to blame Billy or Bobby or Sally, and it's never your fault. It's Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump. Trump did this. Trump. It is just absolutely ridiculous. And I was not expecting Brett Baer to ask her some of those questions. That was great. I mean, he was very professional too, and she was not professional. Oh, I could tell just by the look on her face that she is a mean woman, and she really wanted to unload. But everything that she was saying, it's just the same rhetoric. No specific answers to anything. How are you going to fix the economy? Well, I got aspirations and dreams, and I'm going to help small businesses, and I'm going to do this. It's like nothing specific. And then she sits there and says Donald Trump doesn't have a plan. We know what his plan is. I mean, it's obvious. He knows economics. He knows how to keep our country safe. And all these clowns that are just seething with hate against Donald Trump, he becomes president, they are going to be better off. They're going to have more money in their pocket. They're going to have a safer country. He's going to close the border. And, the thing that I want to see pointed out more on some of this, on these national talks, is when she keeps saying, well, he didn't pass that bill to shut the border down. It's like, lady, you don't even need a bill to shut the border down. The president can shut the border down without a bill. So they blame it on a bill. It's so ridiculous. It's just the blame, and unaccountable. It's crazy. And it's what Mark was saying, too. It started with Obama. I mean, Obama purged, I can't remember how many military generals. Obama filled his people up.
Obama did that, and Clinton did that, and all the liberals did that. And
coming to a head. But I have hope. I mean, I think it's, what Captain Harry was saying, the people that's never voted before, it's like, get out and vote, because Donald Trump is right. This could very well be the last real election that we could have. And I can't believe that the stupid DOJ is suing Virginia for following the law. What a joke. I mean, who do they think they are? And then they're saying Donald Trump is going to weaponize the DOJ. Oh, really? How ironic that you even say that. I mean, gosh, these people are just crazy. And they just keep repeating the same lie over and over again to get these people that don't really pay attention to stuff against him. You know what I mean? And it's all about, the people that like Kamala Harris, they don't really like Kamala Harris. They just hate Donald Trump because they've been brainwashed to hate Donald Trump. Like, you don't even have to like the guy personally to know that he is a leader. And she is what? I mean, she is dumber than Joe Biden, I think. I mean, she can't even answer a question directly. It's sad, Kevin. But anyway, I can't really add. Go ahead.
I'm with you, Eric. God bless you. We love you. Thank you for the call.
Hey, we love you too, Kevin. You're the best, bud.
Thank you. Love Eric and Cuna. But once again, listen to the vice president try to answer this question. I mean, you think about what she's doing here, and it's just amazing. She can't answer a simple question like, why do you want to be the president?
The former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people.
And you're losing to him. By the way, Eric and Payette, thank you very much for reminding me about the App Yap Club. We're going to end the program with the App Yappers. Let's see if we can get to them very quickly. I'm totally with the gang. Martial law is the last straw. They have to pull Denver and Nampa. It cracks me up. You're constantly criticize Boise and BSU President Trump, but you're such a jock sniffer for BSU football. Actually, no, I cover those games. And by the way, I'm probably the most objective person about Boise State football. I think that, again, you can like the team without liking the politics of the administration. Eric and Payette, hey, Kevin, what the KIDO has happened to the Democratic Party? I like that. What the KIDO? I did not grow up beside these un-American people who call themselves Democrats. These wannabe Americans, these people who have stolen, no, hijacked the true American Democratic name and party. They are a Trojan horse comprised of wicked demon rat leaders, putrid pontifiers, and useful zombie idiots, all hell-bent on trans-country flying America into one of the other KIDO countries in the world. Where did all the good old Democrats go? I'll tell you where they are. They're at the bottom of the tank on KIDO. I fell off my chair. They aren't Democrats. They're just lacking knowledge and have closed the channel of communication. If I'm not mistaken, I seem to recall something about the Nazis doing the same to the German people at the beginning of their country's Great Divide. Last question from the lips of a dying man. Who the KIDO let Kamala Harris into the building? Dang it. By the long way. We're all dying. Duh. Kill your smartphone, Eric in Payette. Ghost Woman, Elite Clicker. We're going to tattoo all women with the serial number, Elite Clicker. Boy, people are very fired up today, and we appreciate that. Don't forget our friends Clay and Buck coming up by Sean Hannity. You're talking about the exclusive best talkers in the country, proudly representing us. By the way, Cindy and Eagle, congratulations for being on with Clay and Buck, or with Buck. I heard you, Cindy. You did a great job. Great job, Cindy. Awesome job. Next time, maybe a shout out, Kevin Miller. We don't hear that enough, or KIDO Talk Radio. But Cindy and Eagle, you got the KIDO Talk Radio gold star for getting on with the Clay, with the Buck. Great job, Cindy, for representing all of us. Great job, everybody. God bless. Keep the faith. And Kevin Miller loves you, Idaho.